Welcome to the ECR Retail Loss, Sell More and Lose Less podcast series. This week I'm joined by Professor Emmeline Taylor, and we're reflecting on the initiatives that retailers shared with us recently on how they're going about protecting high risk and high shrink products in new and different ways. Every year we get retailers from America, Europe, Australia, South Africa, Canada, Latin America, and their loss prevention leaders give us an update on what they've been doing to protect products. So making sure that they can go on to open sale as much as possible, make it easy for the shopper, but at the same time, make it harder for the thief. So a fine balance. And so we were looking for innovation. So we're looking for different things. And this year, quite a few themes emerged. And I just wonder whether you could just recap from your perspective what you thought the big learning points were for those that didn't have a chance to join the call.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a few themes that I think I emerged. There's definitely innovation. There's lots of variation of the same theme of things that we've seen previously. But I think for me, the meeting really encapsulated four different things. And the first one that I'll talk about is visibility. And there's a bit of a departure between businesses as to how visible they want their loss prevention strategy to be. And there's very good reasons for that. In some of the higher risk stores, I think they want it to be really visible. Let's show, send a really strong signal to potential thieves that we are now, locking things down, we're tagging more and more products, and we want this to be really visible. But in other locations, they want it to be hidden. They almost don't want to show the customer that the product protection is, in their face. There's concerns, I think, sometimes that they might be signalling to their honest customers that there's a trust issue here. So I think that visibility one was really key for me. But also the age-old issue of friction, that came up time and time again. Yeah. We don't want to interrupt the customer journey, but we do want to interrupt the thieves' attempts. And how do you go about balancing that? I know that you've had some interesting insights around that friction.
Well, yeah, I think it's this point around self-checkout comes up quite a lot. You're scanning away. Oh, well, I've got this big tag on it. What do I do with it? So, oh, well, someone has to come over and help you. Well, it just delays you. But I think we see also, and we saw, we're seeing it everywhere, this whole wall of plastic, where wall of lockers, where, you have to buzz for booze. I think we saw one.
Yeah.
And, it's clearly something that's, no sort of retailer wants to do. And we heard, examples of when they can execute it better with a better, rather than putting it all behind the counter, doing, a bell system, and that actually had produced better sales and better loss results. But it's still an inconvenience for shoppers.
Absolutely. There's two things there, really, isn't there? From the conversations that I'm having, and I think it came out in the session as well, that the jury seems to still be out on whether locking the goods away, of course, it's going to reduce your losses, but how does it impact sales? And so some businesses saying, because of the on-shelf availability, actually sales are up, because that momentary friction actually sometimes provides an opportunity to upsell, then they're seeing really positive things. But I don't think that's a universal trend. But one of the things that did come out a lot from the session was, how do you then go about accessing the product? So do you buzz for booze and someone comes along with a key, or there's a keypad? Or do you then put the onus on the shopper to be able to open it using a mobile phone or an app, enter in their phone number, biometrics? These are really big questions, because you don't want to upset your customers. But how do you then manage it so that you don't lose sales because they couldn't access a product in a time that they felt was appropriate?
Yeah, and partly the reason I think that the sales, they show a sales increase is because the before situation was just hidden, it just went out of stock, no one adjusted the book stocks. So this leads them to a more controlled position, which I think explains some of the sales increases. But you're right, I think we also saw that, it's buzz for booze today. It could be buzz for Red Bull. It could be buzz for olive oil, buzz for, Manuka honey, buzz for coffee, buzz for chocolates. There's lots of,
Lots of buzzing.
Lots of buzzing going on. in the store. But I really like the example that was given from an American retailer where simply you could show your loyalty card on your phone, present the QR code on the loyalty card to the lock, and it would unlock it, which gives the customer pretty much of an easy way to get access to that. But also for
I,
the business, you get that visibility to who opened it when,
yeah,
was there a sale that followed in 10 minutes time or something? So
yeah.
that's quite interesting.
The thing that sort of worried is probably too strong a word, but just worried me slightly around that situation is, okay, fine if you've got a quiet store, somebody scans, their own loyalty card or whatever it is, but I'd like to think customers are quite polite, and then you hold the door open for the next customer. Or what if a thief sees that opportunity, somebody's scanned it, and they start helping themselves, and it's on somebody else's loyalty card? Just wonder if that's going to cause a bit of upset at some point, some scuffles in the aisles involving customers that, of course, we wouldn't want to see.
Yeah, well, you remember if you went to the Amazon Go stores, where you actually had to use your QR code in there to get into the store,
Yeah,
and they did have the problem with tailgating, and so I think they
yeah,
eventually led to some association between the people who, so they're able to work out who was with who. So if you take your three children in there, or
yeah,
your mum and
yeah,
dad, so you had some association. But clearly in the case of that drugstore in America that presented. I don't know whether well, I'm pretty sure they haven't got that sort of a technology that can associate people in terms of a shopping family or a group or,
yeah,
you know. So yeah,
yeah.
that's definitely a concern.
Be
But that
interesting
was
to
quite
see.
exciting. That's the first time we've seen that for sure, because normally, as you
Yeah,
say,
definitely.
the
And
other ones.
yeah, I think as well, just in terms of staff costs and, the amount of time that it takes, or, if it's a key that somebody's misplaced it, or, they've gone on a break and it's in their pocket, it irons out a lot of those issues. And I think a lot of shoppers do love that autonomy as well, when they're purchasing things. What was exciting as well, though, is the companies that haven't gone down that, locking up, using all the cabinets and locking things up and having that access control. There seems to be quite a lot of innovation around the actual tagging of products, because we're seeing more sort of complex packaging now
Mm,
having
yeah,
bespoke
yeah.
tags attached to it. What did you think of this? I thought there was some quite cool things
Yeah,
happening.
I like the work on Red Bull. I hadn't imagined that they'd do that. I saw some of the bottle tags. This netting that's being used around Jack Daniels seemed really intriguing because, if you do want to remove that net in the store, it's going to make a noise.
Yeah,
So I thought some of those anti-theft devices not particularly attractive. The whole set doesn't look great with all these bottles in nets. But nevertheless, it's something that seems to be working in terms of reducing theft.
yeah.
So yeah, like,
I was thinking the run up to Christmas as well. That's going to be the ultimate test, isn't it? Around spirits and alcohol, confectionery, these really challenging products, I think, sometimes to tag. Are they going to fend off those offenders? Yeah, I think that'll be interesting to
well,
know.
you'll know this from your theory, but displacement, obviously, if you are, I mean, there's many different types of thieves, and you've written all about the different types of thieves, from the swipers through to the people who are in desperate need of, and then there's the organized people. But if you're stealing for resale, and or just stealing for money, then, well, whichever product you can access, you're probably going to steal. So you are just moving the problem around the store potentially with some of these actions.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
which
We're
is
definitely seeing lower price merchandise now being tagged, aren't we? I think as it sort of graduates down, as you say, because shop thieves, they're quite agnostic most of the time about what they steal, so long as they get something. So yeah, I think that's interesting, and
well,
which then brings into question the cost of the tags have to then become lower.
yeah, and the labor costs, and then how they interact with the self checkouts, which now can be 80%, or sometimes there's only self checkouts, and then what do you do then? But I think we've had this discussion around Craved and whether that model, actually is as relevant now for some of these these stores, concealable, removable, available, valuable, enjoyable, disposable.
Yeah, do you know, that's one of the theories that you first sort of learn in this space as a criminologist. I can remember that from sort of 15 years ago, and it just doesn't do it for me anymore. I don't think we tick enough of those boxes. So yeah, as you say, concealable. So many prolific thieves don't conceal anymore. They're brazen, they just walk out with the goods, or use self-service checkout. They're not hiding what they're doing. They're doing it in plain sight. Valuable. A lot of products now, they're not really valuable. And the E is enjoyable. We're seeing a lot of theft of items, they're not enjoyable. What, batteries, razors, toilet roll, it's laundry products. It's more the necessities, and they're very mundane, but of course they'll always have an on sale value. So yeah, I think Crave needs to be reworked for the modern thief, to be honest.
But we digress. So your first point was around visualization. Just trying to wrap up here. Was the first? Yeah. Well, the other points were
the visibility, friction, the cost, and the staff hours, which we've covered as well. But lastly, let's just talk about compliance as well, because I think this is really key. Whether what is actually happening in store is what people think is happening. Does the LP manager actually know what's being tagged, and is that door being left open, for example?
Well, yeah, so there's 12 bottles of Jack Daniels, if 8 of them got a tag and 4 haven't, are the thieves polite enough to accept that we were trying to put tags on all of them and not steal the other 4, fair play. Yeah, we see that all the time, and we see, keeper cases, nets, all of them have, and of course stores have limited, store hours, limited sometimes equipment. There might just not be enough bottle caps, or the right bottle caps, or the right keeper cases. So it is really hard work. But I think I was encouraged by the innovation around this. There's still people trying to make iterative changes, still trying different things, still looking to try to get that balance between friction and trying to have some control over the movement of the product. But yeah, most of all, I think I was really impressed by the sort of app-based loyalty card opening of the displays, albeit I accept your point about the weakness around tailgating,
But there must be ways around it, and maybe it's a reassurance piece for customers that they wouldn't be penalised in any way. But yeah, you're right. I think giving that customer autonomy around product protection, I think, is a really exciting space, and I think we'll see more as well developing that, around vending machines, perhaps. I think there'll be some really exciting innovations.
Yeah, and this point about the self-checkouts, because if you add product protection, you've got to remove it at the self-checkout, so you've got to remember to get the store associates to remove them. And again, how do you get that balance right? So it's difficult in this sort of, and then if you've got store picking and maybe 30% of everything you sell from the store is to the home pickers, why are you bothering putting all these hard tags on?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Who knows? It's not easy, but I think we've got a really nice team of retailers from all around the world, and we do get lots of. We had about 80 retailers on this call. It's just really encouraging to hear them share.
Definitely,
be very open about their learnings. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm sure by next year they'll have answered all of these questions that we've just posed. That'll be their homework.
They've solved the puzzle. Well, look, thank you, Emmeline, very much indeed for your thoughts on this. And we'll be back in September 2025 to see what they've been up to. And to your point,
I can't wait.
Take care.
Cheers, Colin. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thank you for joining us, and thanks to all the ECR Retail Loss community for the sharing of their knowledge, their research and latest learnings that ensure that we become truly a global platform for learning. My name is Colin Peacock. This is the Sell More and Lose Less podcast, and if you liked it, please subscribe so you automatically get all future episodes. And also, if you think your colleagues and friends might also like it, please ask them to follow ECR Retail Loss on LinkedIn and tune in to our next podcasts. If you didn't like it, then let us know and we'll try and fix it. Either way, see you next time. Thank you again.